So, Fox, I hear you're going to reboot your X-Men franchise, which I think is a fabulous idea. However, it's become pretty clear that not a lot of you over there are X-Men comic book fans. You don't really know the source material, which is okay. I don't hold that against you because I think at this point it's also pretty clear that comic books are a niche medium, right? Millions of people go to see these movies. They make billions of dollars, and yet the comic book readership hasn't really grown. Okay, so we lost that battle, but the movies are still going strong. So I think it's time for those of us who do like comic books to be proactive and to be positively proactive, right? And so that's why I have some advice for you, Fox, as you hit that reset button, because I've loved a lot of the X-Men movies you've made, and even more so, I'm very excited about some of the experimentation you're starting to do with the franchise. Oh, I'm very happy about it. Also, for anyone watching, feel free down below in the comment section to chime in with your own advice. And again, the spirit of this video is positive proactivity. So not a lot of give the rights back to Marvel comments, please, because that's not going to happen. It's too lucrative for Fox, so let's move forward together. All right, so my first bit of advice is please don't do a soft reboot. Do a full reboot. Draw a line in the sand where people can say, okay, this is the old X-Men movies. These are the new ones. And don't worry about Deadpool, because the nature of his character means he can totally hop from dimension to dimension. And what do I mean by don't do a soft reboot? Well, while Bryan Singer, it's been confirmed, will be leaving, and you know what? He gave us some really good X-Men movies, but I also agree it's time for him to go. Get some new energy in there. But word is you want to keep Jennifer Lawrence, James McAvoy, and Michael Fassbender. Don't do it. Don't keep them. Don't let the three of them talk you in, particularly Jennifer Lawrence, talk you into believing that you need them for these movies. You do not. I've enjoyed their performances, particularly James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender's, but none of those three people has been able to inhibit their characters the way Hugh Jackman has Wolverine. And you can see that by the box office bump that his presence gives those movies. And when he's not around, the box office is not as strong. And I think that X-Men Apocalypse was the chance for Jennifer Lawrence, James McAvoy, and Michael Fassbender to prove how necessary they are to the franchise, and they didn't do it. Also, word is you're going to keep Simon Kinberg. Simon Kinberg's a cool guy. I've interviewed him several times. He's really nice. But again, new energy, new creative voices. Let's move forward. Maybe Simon Kinberg is facilitating some of this experimentation. That's a behind-the-scenes bit of information. So if that's the case, then please, by all means, Mr. Kinberg, stick around. But I really don't want to see, there should be no foot or even a toe, even a baby toe, dipped in the old X-Men movies. Although maybe there's one other person I'd like to see come back, and that is Rebecca Romijn as Mystique. She still looks great. She can still play the role. She loved the role, unlike Jennifer Lawrence, who's complained about it quite a bit. And Mystique, let's face it, is your third biggest brand in this franchise, right? It goes Wolverine, then Deadpool. I think some people might argue who's first, but let's just put them on the same page there. But then it's Mystique. And as Wonder Woman and Ghost in the Shell, I mean, man, look at the viewership and the interest in the Ghost in the Shell trailer. That's exciting stuff. I don't know why Kevin Feige won't give her a Black Widow movie after this. We'll see how it actually does at the box office. But still, there's such extreme interest in the Wonder Woman and Ghost in the Shell movies. You gotta really give Mystique her own movie at this point. I think it's time. And also, that leads me into my next bit of advice. Solo movies. Everybody's doing team movies these days. There are even team TV shows. But Deadpool and Logan prove that there's more room for grand and experimental storytelling when you have a simpler, more streamlined focus. So maybe you can have a sprinkling of other mutants here and there as supporting characters and villains. I think, again, Deadpool and Logan should really become your new formulas. You should really look at those and be like, this is working. How can we continue to make it work, right? But don't forget, part of that formula is experimentation. But that's what I would say to do. Keep going against the trend. This is how you can stand apart from the MCU and the DCEU. And there's more on how you can stand apart. So that leads me into my next bit of advice. Tim Miller was right. Hardcore action is crucial. R-rated too. This R-rated thing is really working out. And despite my initial reservations about it, as we've seen, kids have no problem. I mean, parents, I guess in some cases, kids do take their parents to see these movies, but parents have had no problem taking kids to R-rated films. And I believe if Deadpool hadn't had the sexual content in it, they would have had no problem with the R-rated Deadpool's violence. So just be careful with the sexual content. Maybe movies should, or at least Fox should, in this case, move to like the more nuanced ratings of television that tell you exactly what's going on there. But make the R-rated movies. Have, anyone can have a team engaged in a battle where everybody has multiple superpowers at a PG-13 level. Anyone can, and anyone does. They're doing them in other movies. They're doing them on TV. So spend the money and hire the talent for the most bitchin' fight sequences in comic book movies out there today. And you spend a huge amount of money, again, not only on hiring the talent, but also on the use of visual effects and the cool use of powers that only the X-Men can provide. Also, as evidenced in Days of Future Past, it's a lot of fun to even see just 2 or 3 mutants working together and how they train to play their powers off of each other. Team strategy. It's fantastic. But don't be tempted to go into a team movie. I think you need a break from that. Then finally, I was going to say, how about get Cyclops right, finally? But I also have to say that upon further, consideration, I just think that the reputation of that character is just so badly damaged at this point with the general public, non-comic book readers, and his most interesting narrative story where he goes dark has been given to Captain America. And you see how popular it is? You really missed an opportunity there to get Cyclops right. I don't know what Bryan Singer ever had against the character. But I think that he needs a long rest. Same with Jean Grey. These characters are just overexposed. So on that note, I would go with the character that they tried to bring in First Class, but they failed horribly, largely because of who they cast. But I still think there's a real potential there, and that's Emma Frost. Cyclops' Angelina Jolie to Jean Grey being Cyclops' Jennifer Aniston. As I've said before, in the comic books, whoever Cyclops is dating becomes the X-Men's first lady. But Emma Frost, I would cast Rosamund Pike because she basically already played the character in Gone Girl. And I think that if you play this correctly, you could have a character at the level of Harley Quinn. Because Emma Frost in the Marvel Comics, when Grant Morrison was writing her in New X-Men, was so instantly popular that, and she was on such a, she was just so, she got her own series. Everyone loved her. I loved her. And she's just such a unique, interesting character that it's a shame that Isaac Perlmutter really gutted the X-Men. He did it. It's a slow death, okay? But they're almost dead right now, I'd say. For some reason, Brian Michael Bendis had no interest in Emma Frost and really underwrote the character, and so that was the beginning of her demise. But as for the X-Men comics overall, Isaac Perlmutter has gutted them creatively, who's working on them. And they're almost unreadable at this point, and they're very low in the sales chart. I think like Death of X, which features who? Cyclops and Emma Frost, is the only strongly selling X-Men title right now, so you can see how popular they are, Fox. But the rest of the X-Men titles, they don't start until the 70s in the rankings of monthly sales. It's so horrible and such a shame because they're such iconic characters. But I think that there's real potential in Emma Frost, and I think that you could have a really strong character there. Again, Harley Quinn levels, because she's also like, there's a cheesecake aspect to her. She's very funny because she has a lot of really I'm not quite sure how to explain it. Nouveau riche, I guess is a good way to say it. It's just fabulous. And so I would look into that considerably. So that's my advice for you, Fox, as you, again, hit that reset button on the X-Men franchise. I'm so excited for what could potentially come, and I hope this was helpful to you. And I hope that the comments down below, for the most part, are helpful. I know some of you won't be able to resist. But thank you so much, everybody, also for tuning in. I hope you agree with my advice, and you can check out some more videos right now.